Welcome back, everyone. Today it's a 109E Emile. I'm doing the Dash 3. I think there's just some slight upgrades on the Dash 4 canopy. I'm hardly a 109 expert, so don't quote me on that. As far as I'm aware, these E-series was what you'd call the first of the real 109s, or at least the modern 109s. They went to the Daimler-Benz engine, and the giveaway there is that they had to fit new radiators, so you'll see them under the wing compared to, say, the earlier versions used in, say, Spanish Civil War and so on. For some strange reason, which I can't quite figure out, they put this nice little white metal seat in this kit. Not that I'm complaining, it's just one of those things I can't quite understand the motivation behind it. It's nice enough, but who knows? What I'm doing here is squaring up those wing roots. If you don't get that right, it just causes all sorts of headaches. And being an older kit, I'm guessing from 70s, 80s, probably 80s, I don't know, I didn't look it up. There was a bit of flash. And back to that seat, that's one thing that does intrigue me. On one hand, it's an older kit and they've thrown in this nice little white metal seat, so who knows? There's the instrument panel going together. Fairly typical stuff, just decal on there. I don't use the airbrush all the time, not if it's like half a drop or something like that. I'll just hand paint it and put the decal over the top. You can see here the internals of the cockpit itself are very basic, so I really didn't bother too much at all. Just seemed almost no win if you go to too much detail there. And especially like in my case, anyone's, I've got another half a dozen Edward 109s sitting in my stash, so I'd rather put the time and effort into them. This is just standard, almost routine for me, some cockpit detailing. There's no huge drama in that, all goes together well. So it's a nice enough fit and it's a nice kit. And really no complaints from me at all. It's just older boxing. So you get a fair glimpse of what's going on here. It all goes together well. I didn't have any trouble with the fit. There's a bit of cleanup. I think for me, almost thinking back, 70s and 80s kits always had that weird misalignment at the front of the fuselage. Here's those typical struts for the tail on a 109. Again, there was a bit of clean-up work, but they go together reasonably well. I come back in with some thin cement just to make sure they're really seated well. Otherwise, you'll find them dropping off later on. Again, I didn't go for the airbrush for a little bit of work like that because I would have then had to do a bit of masking and all the rest for something that's going to be hard to see. Canopy, just the standard masking. I did put the pitot tubes in, but I regretted it later because some of you will know straight away my mistake there. And the issue is later on when you come to put the decals on. So it would have been easier to do it after. Here's the light blue RLM 65. As a paint scheme, it's fairly basic. And especially as Luftwaffe planes go, this is really simple. It's nice, and again, I like the historical accuracy. On the idea of historical accuracy, there is something that can be a little bit of an issue for some people. I've gone the coward's route, and I'm not showing it here, but personally, I do try and make them as historically accurate as I can. So there is a little bit missing off the tail. I'll leave it at that. As I say, just it's one of those ones for me where I just think if I'm going to all this effort to make things as historically accurate as possible, it seems a bit silly, but there you go. So it's come together really well at this point. The camo or pattern looks really good. And then we're on to decals. I didn't do any really heavy weathering. Again, my logic here is that this is really the first few months of the war. It did come with the spare canopy. As you come across these, keep them. That's for the Dash 4. Decals went on really nice. Again, Hasegawa I've never had any great dramas with over the years. I always think of them as some cousin of Tamiya. I have no idea of the relationships, but yeah, you can see I don't know, I guess there must be a name for that camouflage pattern, but yeah, it's all coming together well at this point. You can see there, what I'm really doing here is getting those wheels to set, and as far as I'm aware, they probably killed more Luftwaffe pilots than the Allies did. Of course, I'm exaggerating before someone jumps in, but it's just one of those intriguing things. The Germans did some things really well, and then the undercarriage was almost suicidal. So I don't get that. But no one asked me, and I wasn't around, so nothing to do with me. Just one of those things that intrigues me, how they can do something so well, and then the undercarriage was such a mess. I suppose one thing to keep in mind, I think this is really a 1934 plane. So as it goes, it was a really early monoplane. So there you can see the undersurface, and it's really starting to come together. I do like getting to the decal point because that's where you really get into putting in bling starts to really come together. So that's it. Nice little plane. No issues with the build. And actually, for me, I was happy with how that come together. So there you can see a bit of the detail. As usual, yeah, give me a comment. Let me know what you think. Happy to hear from you all. Stay safe. Have fun. Enjoy your modelling. Have a great day. Bye.